another year, another visit to the Bristol countryside for an annual celebration of the weird, wonderful and alternative side of music, Arctangent Festival. My feet were still aching from Bloodstock Open Air, which only finished 2 days prior, and my ears were still ringing, my clothes were still drying. It seemed crazy to do 2 festivals back to back, but there was no way I was missing Arctangent this year. Last year's lineup featured the likes of Amun-Ra, Meshuggah, Explosions in the Sky, and this year's lineup was to be equally stacked with the likes of Maybe She Will, God is an Astronaut, Wardruna, Godspeed You Black Emperor, amongst many others. So, how would this year's experience compare to last year's at the festival? Here are my highs, lows and surprises of this weekend. Now, there's heavy, there's very heavy, and then there's Ahab, the German Nautical Doom masterclass, where they were on form that day and they leveled that little Bixler stage. They just hit you with wave after wave of Nautical Doom goodness, the heavy low end, the disgustingly distorted guitars. I was right at the barrier. I was about a not safe distance from the PA, and I got all of it. It's a good job I had my earplugs. I looked around the room and I could tell that at one point pretty much everybody was headbanging in unison. It was such a sight, and this shows how well they connected with the audience. Unfortunately, I missed Calandra last year as, well, for logistic reasons, the heavens opened. So it was good to know that I was going to get to see them on the Yokai stage this year. Now, vocalist Katrine's only 5 foot tall, yet she has an absolutely gargantuan presence on stage and this larger-than-life personality. And they have this really cool blend of traditional folk and more modern alternative rock. Yet it doesn't feel cliched, it feels raw, authentic, and it's a real extension of their real-life personalities. And there's something magical about when they perform, and it resonates so well with people in the audience, with so many knowing their songs and singing along. Often imitated but never fully replicated, Norwegian heavyweights Wardruna headlined the Wednesday night in a history-making set. History-making because they were the first, perhaps only band in history to have both opened and closed the main stage on the Wednesday night. There's something wonderful about their production, where it's the clever use of the lighting, the silhouettes, and talk about authenticity. They use traditional pagan folk rock instruments, whether it's the percussion, the lyres, the string instruments, and the fact that you sing in Old Norse. It doesn't matter what language they're singing in, they always sing with such raw emotion, and I could tell it was really connecting with many in the audience, many of whom reported that this was the main reason they were here on this Wednesday night. We got treated to nearly 100 minutes of wonderful pagan folk rock. Vocalist Ina talks about how singing is medicine, and it's something we don't really do enough in this world anymore, in a world that's increasingly divided and torn apart by issues, we just say. Maybe we need Wardruna's message more than ever now. Maybe we do need to sing more together. Maybe we need more Wardruna in our lives. Right, God is an Astronaut were good. I knew they were going to be good. I didn't think they would be this close to absolutely sonic perfection that night. See, the promoter of Arctangent, James Scarlett, described them as being very demanding from a technical point of view. But to me that just spells that the Irish post-rock band really put so much attention into all their sound, they leave no stone unturned. All that attention to detail means that they can extract all the right emotions from their instruments to make you feel exactly how they want you to feel. For example, Torsten, the guitarist, spoke about how his father left this world a few years ago, and he dedicated one of their songs to him. It was beautiful. The person next to me, unfortunately, was in tears because it just became too much for her. She sort of said how it was her favourite band and this was her favourite song. The addition of famous cellist Joe Quayle added so much more emotional depth to an already emotional performance. The addition of the strings just tugged on your own heartstrings even more. It took a very near perfect performance to an almost near perfect performance. That was the set of the weekend for me. I've got to see them again. Emma Ruth Rundle is a fantastic musician, whether it's her vocals, her guitar work, or songwriting. She's just an amazing performer, and she sounded great on that main stage. The only issue was that there was another band 100 yards away who were sound checking very loudly, as they had to be, and that sound bleed really killed a lot of the atmosphere, and it kind of ruined that immersive experience I needed. I would definitely see her again if she played on a smaller stage, where you can get that more intimate experience and that immersion. I think she would have worked better on a smaller stage that day. Godspeed You Black Emperor headlined the Thursday night, and I still think they're post-rock legends. I still appreciate what they're doing. I think this was just the wrong time to introduce me to the band. It'd been a long day of music. I'd just seen a very high-energy Leprous set, and to be honest, I just wasn't really engaged with the music, especially when they had sod all crowd interaction and there wasn't really much visually going for the band. I think this was just the wrong time again for a 100-minute set. I think I will see them again, but on a headline set when it's just them, maybe one or two support acts. Now, you're always going to get clashes at festivals, but this one was painful. We Lost the Sea and Between the Buried and Me, both doing their seminal albums in full on Friday afternoon, with We Lost the Sea doing Departure songs and Between the Buried and Me doing Colours in full. I totally understand the reasons why they did this, and stylistically they're both very different albums, and logistically it was the only time the organisers could fit in two 65-minute sets. Still, I'm being petty, you can feel your feels, and I wanted to see both, but I didn't get a chance to. Dim Skewer, a band that nobody had heard of a few weeks prior to the festival. They released their debut EP, Dust Eater, just as a cathartic hobby and having no real expectations. Didn't think anybody was listening, but one person was listening. Damnation's organiser, Gavin McAnally. When he announced the band on Two Promoters One Pod, the listenership exploded, social media exploded, the downloads came in, and James Scarlett of Arctangent was listening also. When a slot came at 2 PM on Friday on the Yokai stage, Dim Skewer were performing for the very first time. I was very lucky to be at the Barrier for this set, especially as it was reportedly packed out. Packed out for a band who nobody had really heard of, only a few weeks prior to the festival. After the set, across the weekend, I saw quite a few Dim Skewer shirts in the crowd in the arena, and they played with so much visceral intensity. It's one of the best post-metal bands I've come across in a very long time, and this is the start of something very, very special, I'm telling you. Despite going with some friends, we decided to camp in Loners Camp, and it was a fantastic idea. We got to meet so many cool people there, people who just wanted to talk about music for hours and just to make friends. I found myself in camp circles for an hour chatting to people before I even learned their names. Equally, when I was at the Barrier in between bands, I got speaking to some very friendly people, fellow music nerds, and it made the festival experience so much less daunting and so much more enjoyable. And I could go by myself if I really wanted to. I did spend quite a long time by myself, just because I wanted to go off and do my own thing, do the bands I wanted to, have a rest when I needed it, go for food when I needed it. So if anybody is going by themselves, definitely consider going into Loners Camp, because it will enhance your experience and you will feel very welcome. I've always thought 100-year-old man have sounded good on stage. I've seen them a few times now, and one of the first times was almost exactly a year prior, as they played on the BX3 stage. I thought they sounded good, but visually there wasn't really much there, and they were looking like a band who were struggling to make that transition from small venue to the festival stage. But when they hit the stage this year on the Wednesday night, it's looked so much better. They already sounded fierce, but they invested heavily in the lighting show, the strobe lights, and they moved around the stage with just so much more confidence and energy. They starting to look like a real festival band now, and they could easily go onto the main stage in the future. The addition of Grady from Willhaven doing some guest vocals was a massive surprise, and it definitely was not on my bingo card this year. All in all, this year was a resounding success for Arctangent, and I would recommend the festival to anybody, as I'm convinced there is a band for everybody on that lineup. They've got heavier post-metal bands, heavier progressive metal. In the past, they've booked the likes of Meshuggah and Opeth, so they've got some pretty damn big names in the lineup. Yeah, they've got more slower ambient post-rock, the likes of Godspeed You Black Emperor this year, for example. Got the faster metalcore, the likes of Rolo Tomasi, Ithaca. There's so much going on. They've got so many left field picks also, which I mentioned, the likes of Calandra and Wardruna. And it's such a small, manageable festival. I think it's maybe 8, 9, 10,000 maximum, and it makes walking between stages so much easier, and some of the bigger festivals can feel more overwhelming, I understand that. But Arctangent felt very manageable for me, and will I go next year?